Welcome back, everyone. Governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has expressed concern over the regrouping of Boko Haram terrorists in Tumbus areas of Lake Chad and Mandara Hills and Sambisa Forest. Governor Zulum stressed that part of the cause for the prolonged insecurity in the state is what he called disengagement of military exercises and operations, giving way to Boko Haram and ISWAP members to return and take over terrorism or territories that were hitherto regained. The governor, however, acknowledged the efforts of the military in combating the Boko Haram insurgency in Borno and the northeast, but also highlighted a setback in the operations. Recently, and now let's get the perspectives of a security consultant and executive director, Patriot for Advancement of Peace and Social Development, Dr. Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi. Good evening, Dr. Shinkafi. Thanks a lot for joining us on the program.
Good evening. Thank you for having me in the program.
So an alarm has been raised by the governor. This time he's talking about the regrouping of Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists in the Tumbus area of Lake Chad and the Mandara Hills within the Sambisa Forest in the state. You know, many of us thought Sambisa Forest was a foregone issue. What was your first reaction to this report?
Yeah, you see, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Umar Zulum, have raised alarm for previous months that there is regrouping and resurgence of attacks by these terrorists, Boko Haram and ISWAP, most especially in the Lake Chad zone region. And this Lake Chad region is in Sambisa area. The resurgence of the Boko Haram terrorists in Borno State, there is a report of daily attacks in almost 17 local government of Borno State. It is highly disheartening and heartbreaking. And they have come with the new tactics of attacking military base and rural communities, and they were kidnapping for ransom and extorting money from rural communities, imposing taxes and levies. So this is when the governor raised this alarm, the federal government downplayed him and said that there is improvement in the security for the first 18 months. But what is happening now is highly alarming. These terrorists, ISWAP, Ansarudin, and Boko Haram, on daily basis are attacking rural communities and also police station and military base. So there is need for development of military forces, both at the air component and also at the waterways in the Sahel region. And the withdrawal of Niger Republic from the ECOWAS, it is another setback in the fight against terrorism in this Sahel region. Because Borno State have shared border with the Niger Republic. And since the withdrawal of Niger Republic from ECOWAS, and they decided to withdraw their troops who are also in the Sahel region. So this is a serious setback.
All right, Dr. Shinkafi, you know, some of us
more security.
Dr. Shinkafi, some of us are still very confused about the real situation of things, because, you know, the governor says there was never a time since insurgency started that operations were conducted on the shores of the Tumbus in the Lake Chad. And now he says the terrorist groups are getting support internationally, adding that they were freely breeding in Tumbus water areas on the Lake Chad without much effort by the military to displace them. In another breath, he's acknowledging the efforts of the military in combating the Boko Haram insurgency in Borno and Northeast. So what exactly is the situation of things?
You see, the governor must acknowledge the active performance of the military, and he must appreciate them. But at the same time, he must to air out the intelligence report he has been getting from intelligence agencies. And this intelligence report he has been getting it is not hidden because there is a daily increase in the attack of the military base. They even use some artificial drones to attack the military base and police stations, and even attack fishermen, slaughter them through an ungodly manner. So with this type of situation, and there is also the locals who used to give an intelligence gathering. So based on this report, he has led with no option then at the same time for him to praise the military for doing the good job and also tell the public what is happening, because he's the chief security officer of the state. And he owe people of the state an explanation on the security situation. This is the truth of the matter.
Also,
and you know that the governor is not the one who has the right to deploy the security. He depends on the federal government to deploy security.
I get that. Also, Dr. Shinkafi, so if the governor is saying that the terrorist groups are getting support internationally, and members of these groups are now getting what you call the international passports, is this where military diplomacy comes in?
You see, it is not in doubt that these Boko Haram terrorists have been getting international support in terms of because of the population of the smaller and lighter arms into the waterways, and also because of the proximity of Niger Republic, the porosity of the border. Borno State share boundary with Chad Republic, with Cameroon, with also Niger Republic. So it is very easier because of the porosity of the water and the ungoverned space for arms and ammunition to be smuggled into Borno State easily through the waterways and also through the land border, through the Sahara. So that is why the governor has to allege that there's international support. And let me also refresh your memory. Just few weeks or few days ago, a British army was arrested with some chains of AK-47 and AK-49 rifles with ammunitions in Delta State. And also let me refresh your memory. And a United States of America member of the Congress made it clear that some of the international donors agency are also partaking in aiding and abetting terrorism in Nigeria. So you cannot take this allegation away from what the governor have said.
Right. You know, I talked about military diplomacy because, I mean, if the governor had said or insinuated that this Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists have found a safe haven in the Tombos areas of Lake Chad, isn't that where the federal government should now employ the initiatives of military diplomacy? In addition to that, if military diplomacy worked for countries like America and China, how do you advise government on making this a long-term strategy for shoring up Nigeria's security?
Yeah, the issue of if you look at what is happening in the Sahel region, as I have said earlier, there is a porosity of the border. And these illegal routes are the easier way to smuggle arms and ammunition into the Nigerian shore. And looking at the request for the deployment of more military personnel into the Sahel region, more than 300,000 insurgents, repented Boko Haram, were reintegrated and rehabilitated into the society. And if they have not been taken care of, look at the 300,000 numbers of insurgents fighters. If it has not been taken with seriousness, I'm telling you, it is going to spill to the neighboring state in the northeast and it be escalated as it was how it escalated in 2013 and 2014 to the other northern state. And it will not be good for the country. So it is advisable as the time the military are using kinetic approach At the same time, there's a way for non-kinetic approach to solve this problem.
And of
That
course,
is the best way to go about it.
Right. And of course, this sounds like a major setback for the northern part of the country and calls for serious action, rightfully stated by the president himself. But you know, there are several military operations in the north. There are security experts calling for a review or rejuvenation of some of the military operations across the northern states, because that is, as it is, what we have established tonight is that the northern region is under siege. What do you say to that, Dr. Shinkafi?
Can you come back again, please?
So I said this, I mean, from what we said tonight, this looks like a major setback for the northern part of the country and calls for serious action, rightfully stated by the president himself. But there are several military operations in the north, and many Nigerians are wondering what exactly is the usefulness or whether or not these military operations are still effective as they should be. But as we speak, there are other security experts calling for a review or the rejuvenation of some of these military operations across the northern state. What do you say to that?
You see, if you look at the peculiarity of the security situation in the northern Nigeria, that is different. It is different in other in other regions. Boko Haram, Ansaruddin, and ISWAP are terrorists. Bandit, armed bandit, and some militia or herdsmen and farmers crisis, which is in the north central and the northwest. There is no suspicion of having an international connection with this armed bandit. But Ansaruddin, ISWAP, Boko Haram, and other Islamic extremists, they have connection with the ISIS and other international terrorist groups. So there is more need for the federal government to deploy more energy in the northeast and partly also try to fight this bandit. And the only way you can do this thing to remedy the situation is to take the fight to the hideout instead of waiting for defense. So you should not wait for the attacks to depend when the terrorists attack. You have to take the fight to the hideout in the Sambisa or in any other like Chad region.
All right.
So this is
that looks like a direct submission to the federal government and all the state governors. But Dr. Shinkafi, let's turn our attention to other matters, precisely politics. I want to take you upon the viability of emerging opposition coalition. Beyond the power struggle, I mean, we all know why a strong opposition party is crucial for Nigeria's democracy. But Nigerians are worried about the fate of opposition political parties ahead of the next general election. From your own perspective, what do the current state of opposition political parties in Nigeria look like as we speak?
The viability of emerging political opposition party in Nigeria is a very complex and delicate issue. Looking at the challenges of the opposition political parties, there is some challenges by the opposition political party to ahead of 2027 general election. If you look at the opposition group ready to unite, there are several challenges dominant of the ruling party: fragmentation and lack of cohesion among the opposition political party leaders, ethno and religious division, corruption and money politics, political violence, lack of trust in the election. These are some of the factors or challenges for the viability of emergence of political opposition group in Nigeria. And the way to foster the viability is to have a unified unified leadership and organization, and also to have an effective coalition addressing political concern, engaging civil society organization, and also promoting good governance, transparency, focusing on specific issues bothering the country. So these are some of the ways to foster this viability, and also that has also challenges. So are the opposition political group, are they ready to unite and fight for the common front? Are they ready to set aside their political interests and have a united front? Looking at the now formidable opposition groups in the opposition political party, Peter Obi and the Labour Party have a very passionate and followers in the 2023 general election. Atiku, far back in 1992, he contested for president. 2007, 2011, and 2015, and also 2023. And up to today, he has not realized his ambition of becoming president of Nigeria. El-Rufai is one of the formidable posts in the opposition group. Looking at his record, his track record, what he have did as a governor for 8 years in Kaduna State, and also what he have did as a minister of FCT in Abuja. But these major political opposition leaders, are they ready to have a common front? And looking at also what is happening in the country, looking at the fostering inflation rate, looking at the food insecurity, security challenges in the country, looking at the forex instability, looking at the poverty, higher poverty index, and also lack of macroeconomic stability in the country. Are they ready to unite and fight for the common men? All
right, thank you for going there, Dr. Shinkafi, because with
their individual interest for the common masses of the country, this is the challenges ahead of them.
All right. Because with all of the political opposition parties in one escalated crisis or another, Nigerians fear that the country may be heading towards a one-party system. They allege, the opposition party leaders allege that President Tinubu is trying to break the opposition, particularly the PDP, so he can earn it. APC chiefs say this is unfair. They say no one can undermine the hard work they have put into unifying the party. They say there is a lot of difference between the PDP and the APC. They claim their party, the APC, is well structured, which is lacking in the PDP. Clearly also the PDP gets further weakened after every election cycle. For you, would it be fair to blame the poor performance of the opposition on APC? Do we put the blame on the ruling party or opposition parties who have refused to put their houses in order?
The opposition political parties in Nigeria have series of internal party crises. Labour has been in a crisis since after 2023 general election. PDP have been into internal party wranglings since during 2023 election after the fallout of the presidential primary with Wike and the Atiku group. And ABGA just recently settled out their case in the Supreme Court after the judgment at the Supreme Court. And even SDP, they are having some smaller internal party crises. So for inability of the opposition political party to unite, that is what gave birth to the de facto one-party state or one party in Nigeria. You look at the mass defection of governors, senators, former ministers into the ruling political party. Some of them who are trying to also defect, Mr. President has to be very careful of the circumstances. Looking at the history of what happened in 2015, Jonathan has majority of the governors, majority of the Senate, majority of members of the House of Reps, majority of members of the House of Assembly and speakers, and money bags and ministers. Yet, the PDP versus masses of the country, and he lost election to Buhari. So Mr. President has to be very careful of the psychopaths, cowards, because people who are now trooping to defect to APC, the ruling party, some of them are running away from the prosecution by anti-graft agencies of the country. So Mr. President has to be very careful. Mr. President has to go back to his campaign, to drawing board and look at his campaign promises and make sure that he deliver his campaign promises on the Renew Hope agenda. This is what people are expecting from him. Pursuing inflationary rate, the economic hardship is biting and averaging Nigerians. All right. Instability in the poorest, insecurity. So if the Mr. President can holistically fight insecurity and also try to stabilize the economy, I think he will have a landslide victory instead of besting his energy in looking for people to defect to APC.
So you cannot, Dr. Shikavi, you cannot authoritatively say that the president is looking out for people to defect to the APC. These are governors, these are senators who have a mind of their own. But then, mass defection is a betrayal of people's mandate. Do you agree?
Yeah. I agree with you. There should be a profile legislation on defection of governors or politicians into another party. There should be a constitutional amendment to restrict the political nomadism going on in Nigeria. Anytime there's an election season or election cycle, you see people there is a lot of political nomadics. People who are jumping from political party to another, abandoning the ideology of the party, abandoning also the electorate, but for their selfish political interests. If you look at the people who are jumping from APC to PDP, are bed of the same feather, flocking together. There is no difference in the ideology. Some of them, they don't stick into the principles or ideology of the founding fathers of the party. But what they are after is their personal interests. And their selfish and self-centered interests. This is the problem. If they have a Nigeria at heart, and they have the electorate at heart, it's a betrayal of the mandate. Because when they are seeing that, because they think that if they have joined to a ruling party, they can have their way, and the election can be manipulated or rigged in their own paper, using the state apparatus, using the resources at their disposal. So these are the challenges.
All right. So, I mean, looking at what may be fundamentally wrong.
It's a betrayal of trust.
I get that. So, I mean, looking at what may be fundamentally wrong with the PDP, is there a chance that this PDP crisis remain unabated as a result of political desperation on the part of those entangled? And second, the NWC governors have scheduled a meeting for next week. Can PDP avert total collapse?
Yeah, PDP is at the verge of collapse because of the NWC cannot navigate the day-to-day activities of the party. And I have seen the national chairman of the party, Damagun, was saying that they are going to challenge their mandate of governor of sheriff of Delta State. There is no, if they go there, it will just be a political piling of a political statement because it has no basis. The challenges it's going to challenge in the court of law has no foundation in the Nigerian law. Rochas Okorocha defected from ABGA to APC. Many governors defected from the other parties. We went to court to challenge his defection, and which is even the present chief judge of the federation. He was a Rochas lawyer, and Rochas defeated us when I was a national secretary of ABGA. So that one, he is just going to waste time, waste resources, and waste the time of the party. So it is that the National Assembly should come out with a legislation on defection of the executive governors. Anybody who defected to any party, that he have lost his seat automatically, and there should be a by-election on that seat. So that is it. But there is no morality, and it is immoral, and it's a betrayal of trust of the electorate that elected the governor into the office.
All right, then. But I also need to ask you about how you must have evaluated the statements made by the former governor Nasir El-Rufai. I mean, he says we decided to give South power in 2023. If they don't do well, we will take it back in 2027. As a northerner, what is the gravity of such statements?
Please, can you come back again?
I wanted to get your perspective and how you must have evaluated statements made by former Governor Nasir El-Rufai. He says we decided to give South power in 2023. If they don't do well, we would take it back in 2027. So I'm asking, as a northerner, what is the gravity of such statements? Did you get that, Dr. Shinkafi? Dr. Shinkafi, can you hear me? Dr. Shinkafi, if you can hear me, what I said was I wanted to get your perspective about a particular statement that trended last week. This statement was made by former Governor Nasir El-Rufai. It says we decided to give South power in 2023. If they don't do well, we'll take it back in 2027. I wanted you to tell us the gravity of such statements. All right. At this moment, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Shinkafi. Please stay with us.